Hello, everyone. There's going to be a Capricorn full moon on the 3rd of July. And I gave the title, As You Sow, So You Shall Reap, for this particular full moon. Full moons are always sun-moon oppositions, of course, and they're always kind of sharp dichotomies and dilemmas. That's what they represent, because if you look at the zodiac and at the signs describe what is happening in nature, and opposite signs always describe diagonally opposite energy patterns. But this particular one, I think that's the sharpest. Why? Because in Cancer, we have the most light, and light was always linked to harmony, to love, to grace, and Capricorn is the darkest time in the year, and it is always linked to some sort of hardship and all kinds of dark things, and no wonder that the moon is in detriment in Capricorn. And if you know a couple of people with Capricorn moon, you will notice that they are quite hard persons. They are very I'm not going to use any bad words, because this is not a critical labeling. I simply noticed that they are very hardworking, but at the same time could be quite harsh and negative, and that is exactly why this is a funny Capricorn full moon. Let's take a look at the energy. So this is on the 3rd of July, and the exact time is at 12:28 London. And there are some highlights. As you see, Ceres is rising, showing that, yes, we need to concentrate on how we eat, how we nurture ourselves. The sun is separating from Juno, and Mercury is separating from the sun. Mercury at the moment is quite fast, and the sun is quite slow. Actually, the sun is at its slowest, moving 57 minutes of an arc, and Mercury is more than 2 degrees. So they are separating quite fast. And it's on the midheaven. Juno is on the midheaven, kind of showing us that we still need to make covenants, alliances, pacts. And also it's important who our allies is. Sedna just moved into Gemini, and so did Astrea. Astrea is the karma breaker, and Sedna is creation through dissection, and Vesta is concentrating on both. It's the focusing principle. And as you can see, Jupiter is exactly conjunct dark moon Lilith. And this is the second turning point in the Lilith myth, when Lilith leaves the Garden of Eden and doesn't care if Yahweh is going to put a curse on her. So it's acceptance of the curse. And as you know, Jupiter enlarges everything it touches. That curse energy is also being enlarged at the moment. And there is a midpoint structure. Aries, drastically altered outwards circumstances, all kinds of cataclysms and catastrophes and wars, is at the midpoint of the North Node Chiron. And Chiron in Aries is karmic wounds around all sorts of war, aggression, violence, fire, and so on. And the North Node is still in Taurus, trying to tell us that we need to secure our well-being, our harmony, our financial well-being, let's put it this way. And Aries is at the midpoint of this, kind of disrupting the whole thing. So that's the energy. And I'm sure that if you are dealing with astrology, or if you are if you have looked at this particular full moon, you have noticed that Jupiter is actually dissolving the sun-moon opposition. Yes, Jupiter is at 9 degrees 43, so it is making a trine, separating trine to the moon, and a sextile to the sun. Both are separating because Jupiter is the slowest of the three. So that's nice. It's a nice dissolved opposition. Jupiter, of course, is the great benefactor. Sun Jupiter is personal luck. Moon Jupiter is belief in our own harmony creating aspects, and also it is an Earth trine. Out of the trines, out of the 4 energy patterns, Earth trines could be utilized best, because otherwise the problem with trines is that they are lazy. Nothing actually happens unless you actually do something about it. But Earth can manifest on the Earth plane. So that's quite nice. As the moon is also our money, our change, things that are in your pocket or in your wallet, not the plastic. That's not the moon. Well, Jupiter could enlarge that as well. Just when I'm recording this, there is there's a 2-day meeting in the EU. The prime ministers are meeting, so the council practically, and of course the leaders demand more money from the nation states. Aren't you happy, dear English, that you left this monkey cage? This is how I call it. It's ridiculous. And the reason why is because we gave the money to Ukraine, which is not a member state and not a NATO member yet, but we still sponsor this war. There's an interesting thing happening in the world. We Hungarians, because we are at the border of Ukraine, so we are at the border, at the backyard of this war. We kept saying from the beginning, please make peace, please sit down and negotiate. And the whole mainstream media was up in arms against us, just because we said that we need to sit down and negotiate. Let's stop this war. And they kept saying that there can't be a treaty because it will be unjust. All treaties are unjust. What are we talking about? Every treaty that has been made in history is unjust. And more and more people are dying at the front. And those who think that this is morally not very good to sit down and negotiate, think if it were your husband, your son, your best friend who is getting killed every day at the war, at the front. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous and completely unnecessary. The reason why is so that the American oligarchs could keep their territories that they bought into in Ukraine. This whole thing is horrible. Anyhow, so these are the transcendental objects. We don't have that many fixed stars. The only thing that we will have is the Pleiades, actually, I think. Anyhow, on the sun, you have five asteroids: Shiva, Moira, Merlin, Helena, and Hector. Helena and Hector are prominent figures from the Trojan War. So here the sun is highlighting. Hector is the prince of Troy, and of course he dies, and of course he doesn't inherit anything because Troy gets destroyed. And Helena is the reason why this whole nonsense of a war got triggered. And this is exactly what's happening in the world. Shiva is the destroyer in the Trimurti, and Moira is, of course, the fates. So we should actually pay attention what we create. And Merlin, of course, is the sorcerer, the magician. And on the Jupiter Dark Moon Lilith conjunction, you have Minerva and Atropos. Atropos is the third of the fates who is cutting the thread of life, and Minerva is another wisdom asteroid. She is okay. What did I do here? Sorry about that. I don't know, something happened. Anyhow, so that's that is the dissolved opposition. And if we take a look at the other side of the orb, so we are looking at degrees 11 and 13, actually the main chart doesn't show anything at that. So it looks at a first glance that the only configuration is with Jupiter. All the rest is just too far away. But if we look at other celestial objects, then you will note that Laila Kuhona, which is a TNO, an ETNO, an extreme TNO, is making a square. So it creates a T-square, cardinal T-square with the full moon. I made a video on Laila Kuhona, and currently it is the largest orbital period with within the solar system. So this is a celestial object that has an orbit of like 37, 36, 37, something like 1,000 years. They don't exactly know how large this orbit is at the moment. There are many types of calculations, depends on where you are looking at. I just realized that the reason that they actually spotted this thing at all is because it is at it is closest to the sun, so it's at perihelion, and it is an interesting little object, not too big. When Hawaiian students looked at its orbit, it reminded them of migrating birds that cover huge distances to fly home. And in karmic astrology, we link it to the urge of the human soul to incarnate into a physical body. So it's like flying home, coming back to the earth plane. And yes, at the moment, we are just going to destroy this nice earth. I mean, those who were hoping that this Wagner, Prigozhin guy is going to demote Putin. I'm just telling you that, believe me, we are much safer with someone who is holding together this huge country than when it gets disrupted and dissected into smaller pieces with a warlord, a crazy person for each territory, and nuclear weapons for each territory. Think about that. And this is exactly what this T-square describes, because it's a cardinal T-square, so there's a lot of tension in it. And Laila Kuhuna means we need to really fly home, and we need to kind of hold on to what we have. And when we look around, and I'm suggesting seranu.com, which gives you all the TNOs and Centaurs that have been named so far. This is what we have at 11 to 13 degrees of the signs. I did include 2 asteroids besides the ones that we have with the sun, simply because I found them relatively important. And one is Diana in Gemini, and Diana is the goddess of hunting, but also forests and animals and plants. And there's an interesting trend, at least here in Hungary, to create not formal gardens, but so-called forest gardens. When you buy a piece of land, try to keep the plants and trees there, and try to just maintain it, because there's a reason why these plants and these trees were at that spot. And if you want to create a formal garden, you need to first kill these plants and then replace them with grass and bushes and shrubs and whatever. Instead of doing that, just keep the land as it is and try to accommodate your own plants with them. So it's an interesting notion. And in Virgo, you have 2 Centaurs, true Centaurs. So these are Centaurs that are orbiting in the inner Kuiper belt, that are diagonally opposite each other. Aphidas, according to the myth, is a centaur, a very nasty centaur, who is invited to a wedding where he gets drunk and then rapes all the women there. And of course, when he falls asleep, then he is being killed. So it describes the worst human instincts, the worst instinctual behavior, when you commit all sorts of horrible things just because you are not trying to be in your senses. And then Taurus is a centaur who is hunting bears, but instead of killing them, he takes them into his cave and tries to domesticate them. So that is trying to to be on top of your instinct. So that those are kind of the opposite. How we sometimes do stuff, horrible stuff, just because we are not keen on our senses, and then how to overcome this. And in Scorpio, you have this funny Mbaba Mvana Vareza, which is quite difficult to pronounce. And this is a TNO, so it is. I think it has an orbital period around 300 years, and it is a Zulu nature goddess, the goddess who creates everything, and it is the clean water and sunshine and the woods and plants and trees. So here you have the energy again of nature. And psyche, which is the human psyche, and it kind of suggests that yes, this is how you can feel, how you can actually be in this nature. And as you can see, it makes a trine with the sun and the sextile with the moon. And in Aquarius, you have Chariklo. Chariklo was the wife of Chiron. Originally, she was a nymph, so a feminine figure who, because she fell in love with Chiron, deliberately turns herself into the first female centaur. And Chariklo describes a complete inner and outer transformation for the sake of a loved one, for the sake of the spouse. And of course, it is linked to all kinds of plastic surgery. And often we enter into the operation theater with the precise wish to create something new in order to be nicer or more harmonious, something like that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. If it makes you happy to lie under the knife, so to speak, then do it. But I don't think that it is. So if you overdo it, it's never nice. So those are the energy patterns for this particular full moon. And there's another. Oh, I forgot to show you something. Sorry. So let's share again, because there's one slide more, and here it is. And I couldn't show it to you in the planetarium, unfortunately, because they are at opposition with each other. It's the Moon Mercury opposition, as you can see. Here are the travels as well, so you can see that the Sun is quite slow and Mercury is quite fast, but they are also out of bounds. The Moon is very out of bounds, and so is quite Mercury. And whenever this happens, so whenever you see planets out of bounds, it means that they leave the normal, everyday territory of humans up in the sky. So it's our celestial stage, so to speak, where the archetypes are playing out or acting out our stories. They are stepping into the unknown, into the uncharted black waters, into the dark, uncoverable blackness of the universe. So it's not the normal everyday human stage, but something totally alien, dark, unknowable, and the fact that a planet moves there always shows that you can get a glimpse of this. So you can get you can get something that is not the normal human everyday level, but something larger, something darker, something more universal. And now it's the moon out there, which means that we can actually look into, on a soul level, what is hidden out there. And with Mercury also out there, it means, but of course it's on the other side, it's in the northern declination, but still you can actually make it understandable, make it graspable in a logical sense. So that is this particular full moon. Happy full moon, everyone. And thank you for listening. Bye-bye.